I'm Tim Bagley. Jay can be a little awkward, clumsy, and a little handsy. Don't be alone with Jay Kogan.
Don't be alone with Jay Kogan.
Hi, welcome to Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogan. Thank you for being here, and thank you for all the great response to the show. A lot of subscribers, a lot of new subscribers, and I welcome you and thank you for being here. I've said thank you about 85,000 times. I don't thank you all that much. I think about half. Subtract half the thank yous I just gave you, and then you'll be right on par with the amount of thank yous I need. Please write in when you can to dbawjk@gmail.com for all your questions and all your comments and all your criticisms and anything else you want to say. I would love to hear from you. I try to answer every letter, and so far I think I have. And if I haven't, write me again and tell me I'm a jerk. But I think I've answered every question. And I really appreciate if you send in live questions so me and my guests can have something to talk about. It really is important. My guest today is Tim Bagley, who was here. We already had the conversation, and he is one of the great people I know in my life. Not only is it a very talented actor who you've seen on a million shows, if you don't know his name, you'll know his face, but also one of the great improvisers who I've known for the Groundlings for many, many years. And he's just a very sweet guy. He's a very real guy, very authentic guy. And I've been able to have a lot of really interesting and wonderful, authentic conversations with him. And today was no exception. He made me feel better about my life. I hope I made him feel better about his life. He referenced a show that a previous episode of Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogan with my wife Brown and Lisa Kudrow. If you don't know what he's talking about, go back and watch that show and you'll see exactly what he's talking about. It's a great episode too. But Tim is somebody who is very authentic and in the moment. And I always wanted to be somebody who could be in the moment with the same fervor and authenticity as Tim did. And I try to be. And my goal was to be a little bit more in the moment after talking to Tim. And I think I feel like I have accomplished that. Tell me what you think. Watch the interview right after this.
Don't be alone with Jay Kogan.
Thank you, Tim Bagley, for being here.
Yes.
I really appreciate it. Since I began the show, I've actually wanted you on the show, and I'll tell you why. You might be surprised by that.
I am.
Because every interaction we've had together have been strangely insightful and personal in a way that you don't get with comedy people. It's like, It doesn't happen. There's a lot of walls up in the people that we've dealt with, and we've at the Groundlings, and we saw each other on a Chuck Lorre show not long ago. It's like there's a lot of walls up, and there's a lot of people sort of vying for things and not being authentic, which is completely understandable. I'm not saying it's a problem. I'm just saying people are at work. People are doing stuff. But every moment I've had with you, you've found some insightful thing. You were dressed as a priest, I think. You were doing a wedding sequence in some pilot, Chuck Lorre pilot, and you were dressed as a priest. So maybe I was taking what you're saying even deeper. But we were having a conversation about life in a way that people don't ordinarily have, and I just thought that you strike me as somebody who has a very interesting life experience, number one, but two, you've thought about it and you've given life a little thought, and that's exciting to me. So you've watched a couple episodes, so you know the ostensible reason we bring people on the show is to help me with my problems.
Yes, and that's, this could go on forever.
It could.
I know.
So my problem that you're going to help me with is trying to sort of stay the thing that we were talking about earlier that you and I have I like when we can talk about something that's not just the weather or that there's something deeper in the moment that we're able to find. How can I find more deep things in the moment? How can I be less shallow, basically?
Well,
like the shallow, I tend to veer towards the shallow.
Really?
In most daily life.
Okay.
Sure, for sure.
I've never really experienced you that way, but I will say this. A lot of comedy people, we grow up kind of learning how to deflect what's happening with us with bits and jokes. And so we do a lot of bits, and, there's nothing more fun than, doing that.
Right.
But underneath all that is where I think a lot of times where the most interesting stuff lives.
So when you grew up in Minneapolis?
No, well,
Minnesota?
Michigan. I was
Michigan.
born in Minneapolis, moved to Michigan.
What part of
First
Michigan?
Wisconsin, then Michigan.
What part of Michigan?
It's called Niles, Michigan. It was right by South Bend, Indiana.
Okay. So how did you get from there to here?
Well, I left immediately after high school, and I found out my parents, we had 5 kids and I was number 4. So they had already put 3 through college. And at the time I found out that the colleges in California were free, the universities.
Right.
So I went to Cal State Fullerton, and, when I told my parents, I can go to a free university, they were like, And so that
Were
at
they
first,
or were they say go?
no. At first, they didn't want
Okay.
me to go
Right.
because they wanted me to go to University of Michigan, but I knew that I didn't want to be in the snow, and so whatever I did, I just knew I didn't want to do it there.
Right.
But I love that I grew up in the Midwest, and I love going back there. I have family in Wisconsin and Illinois and stuff, and so I love going back, but I love it out here.
Did you eventually ever audition for the Supremes?
No, I
No?
never
Okay.
auditioned for the Supremes, but I saw them.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, that was.
Did you like Lady Sings the Blues? Was it a good
Well,
experience?
when I looked at it again during the pandemic, and it wasn't as good,
No.
but I loved it when I saw it, and I became obsessed after that with the real Billie Holiday and her life, and
Right.
and I don't know, it was good for me to see it, but looking at it as an adult, I'm like, oh, this is not a great movie.
It's not a great movie. Then if you look at it again with the eyes of these are black people trying to make a black movie in a world that doesn't make black movies.
Yeah, that's right.
And trying to make a classy one that may be an Academy
Yeah.
Award fodder.
Yeah.
And then in that light, it's sort of like, oh, I see what they're trying. They're trying to reach for something that they've been excluded from for years and years. And in that light, it's kind of interesting
Yeah,
too.
yeah. It was at its time, it was a film that I just loved that my dad took me to that, though. And then it must have been alarming. They gave me the record, and the very first monologue I ever learned was Scatman Crothers' monologue when he sees Diana Ross's Billie Holiday, and he's like, ooh, look at what Lorraine done sent to me. Young and fine. This where her head was. Won't be there when I get through, because I'm from the city. I'm going to kiss your little titty. I went through the whole monologue for my parents, and they sat there, nodding and encouraging me, and
Oh, that's so
like
good.
that. And
Oh.
and then I remember I sang My Man to them, and that must have been alarming, but they just sat there and nodded and
Right.
encouraged me, and so yeah, I had
How great.
parents that were active listeners,
Yeah.
and trying to help me be who I'm supposed to be.
What's the scariest thing that you've done?
I mean, I've had a whole life of scary things. Recently I did stand up, and I've done that a few times, and I remember the first time I did it, I remember feeling like I was going to fall down when I walked up the 2 little steps
Right.
to the stage, and then when I left, I remember feeling like I was going to fall down, and I was that afraid. And
Now-
it's good though as an actor to put myself in
Yeah.
situations that are terrifying.
But you've done things akin to stand up. I
Yeah.
mean, you've had shows, one man shows, or
Yes.
monologues and things like
Yes.
that, where you're talking
Yes,
about
I
life
have.
experience, and they've been brilliant, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Some of the shows, I mean, that have been unbelievable.
Thank you.
And so funny. Like your experience in the Playboy Mansion
Oh, yeah.
is one of the highlights. I try to recount it to other people, but I can't do justice to it. But anyway,
Talk about pushing through fears.
I know, wow.
No,
But
yeah.
you were like a guy who helped out at the Playboy Mansion.
I was a butler.
a butler.
I was help.
right.
I was the help.
That's but so first of all, that's never how you got there is crazy, and the fact that you were there was interesting. Like it's the mecca for heterosexual men. And what were you doing there?
I needed a second job. I was taking acting classes with Gordon Hunt, and Helen Hunt was in the class, and my friend Zelda Rubinstein had just gotten Poltergeist, and you know, she was suddenly getting an agent and all this, and she was my chum from class, and she was a little person. Do you know who I mean?
Yes.
Go towards the light.
Right. There's only one little person in Poltergeist.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Right.
And she was like, you know, I know the head butler at the Playboy Mansion. Would you want to work there? And I said, sure. And I went there and met with the head butler, and then met with the staff, and I ended up, you know, getting a job there for a year.
You have made such an amazing career of being cast on a million shows. Like, you know, you've become the kind of Hollywood guy who's like on a list of people, go-to list of people to do any particular show. Every casting person I know in the world knows you and thinks you're fantastic.
Well, that's good to hear.
Well, it's true. But by the varied roles and varied parts that you've had over the course of your career, it's been proven. So I think it's amazing that.
Well, thanks, Jay.
That you're like a go-to guy.
Well, thank you.
You're not amazing. You are a go-to guy.
But I always feel like I can be better, and
Oh, that's what all the casting agents say. You can be much
I
better.
really can
That's
be.
really that
They're not wrong.
They're waiting for you to step up.
And I'm trying.
Yeah, no,
I do it when
they don't feel like
as
you
I
are.
can.
They don't feel like you are.
I spend too much time just at home, but
Yeah.
You're right. And they're right.
Yeah. Have you ever had a bad experience being as a guest?
Yes.
Yes. That you're willing to talk about?
I don't even know what I would say. What I would say is that the person that ran it, I think they got stuck with me. It was a straight offer, and I felt like they just didn't like me. And
how could that be? I'm a showrunner. I wouldn't take somebody I don't like.
And then I got, you know, Dax Shepard was on the show, and he's an old friend of mine, so we were like hitting it off and having a great time. And I just think the person that did not like me maybe resented that. I really don't know what happened. All I know is that it was not a pleasant experience for me.
Did the part shrink and shrink and shrink during the week?
No.
Okay. Huh.
No. But I was supposed to do 3 episodes, and I ended up just doing 1.
Okay. All right. If somebody who got a part and somehow they said it's just not working, goodbye.
I would think it's not really necessarily me. It's something else. Maybe it's in the writing. They'll figure it out.
Right.
But if it's not meant to be, I don't want to do it. And I don't have any kind of, I just wouldn't worry about it.
If you could travel through time and tell yourself 35 years ago some advice, and amongst them, hey, if you get fired from a show, it's not about you. Just, you know, what else would you say?
I would give 2 pieces of advice. First of all, don't sleep with a lot of strangers. It's not good for your spirit.
Okay.
And number 2, I would say trust your instincts. Just trust your instincts.
Right.
And know that who you are is enough. And if they don't see it, if it's not right for their thing, you know, it's okay. It doesn't have anything to do. You're not a bad person or whatever. You know.
Let's go back to number 1. Okay. So for a second. So there's value in feeling attractive. There's value in exercising the romance muscles. Isn't there value in that?
Well, I think
the life experience of that.
No, it was a different time.
Yeah.
It was a different time, and I just think that you can't pretend. Well, this is not. I didn't really want to get into any of this, but you can't really pretend like you're not in your body as you're throwing it around town.
Right. That's
You've
true.
got to be present in your body and look for people with quality. And I just, as a younger person, I didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
But also, you know, it was a different time. There was a lot of shame around the kind of person that I am, you know, being gay. And
it wasn't shame around here.
Yeah, there was.
Really?
Yeah, because I grew up
So shame in yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you mean not around here, meaning
This is LA as a community.
Yeah, and I know that, but you have to remember, when I was going through puberty and growing up, it was still considered a mental illness in the DSM-3.
Yeah.
So I grew up with all of that. And then AIDS came, and I lost a partner to AIDS.
Yes.
And there was such shame around gay people and AIDS, and such disdain at that time. And so what happens is, you have to, it's a whole lifetime of figuring out how to put all those other voices and all that old stuff out of your head,
Yeah.
and know who you are, and just move forward in life, without all that baggage. But there are a lot of people my age that I know, that you even know, that still hang on to a lot of that baggage.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always, that I understand it. I understand where it comes from, but it's kind of funny having grown up in Los Angeles.
I know.
And where it's like, it's not even a blinking of an eye if somebody says they're gay or something.
I know that people don't think about it, because I remember I have another friend who is straight and said to me one time, why didn't people just come out? But they forget that people could lose their jobs.
Right.
They could not get hired. This was a perfect example of this is, I was in the Groundlings doing really well, and all my friends got to audition for Saturday Night Live, but it was known that Lorne Michaels and Bernie Brillstein were not going to hire gay people. It was just a known thing in the gay community. I never got to audition for it, and it's something I found my own path and my own thing. But it was just a different time in our history,
for sure.
And now they have, Kate McKinnon is on there,
right?
And back in the day, there was a guy, but he played Nancy Reagan.
Oh, yes.
And he was only brought on for Nancy to play Nancy Reagan. He wasn't welcome into the meetings or anything like that. He was just brought on to play that one role.
Yeah.
Terry Sweeney.
Yes.
And then after Kate McKinnon came out in Rolling Stone or something, Lorne Michaels notoriously, or famously, called her in and said, you tricked me and all this. And she was like, I didn't think it was important anyway. They obviously get along. She's she did a great thing there, and they hired their first gay man, the Asian guy, and I don't remember his name.
Bowen Yang.
Yeah, Bowen Yang.
Yeah.
And so that's their first hire.
Right.
And so that was a whole institution.
That's crazy.
That kept gay people
nuts.
out.
That is
so people forget what it was like during that time, but it was a different time.
Paula Pell has been on that show as a not performer but as a writer, and very famously gay, and
but also very famously funny and brilliant as a comedian.
But she was hired when she was in the closet.
Okay,
so well, that makes sense.
That makes sense too. But also when you see her perform, it's like, where has she been?
Yeah.
And she's brilliant. It's just one of those things where a lot of people don't understand what it was like back then.
Right.
But I always was out, and I was always kind of just trying to live authentically who I am.
So in all the things that you've described here today, like getting the journal and trying to figure out your fears, and conquering some of the fears with auditioning and with playing parts and feeling bad about certain things and sort of getting past it and all that kind of stuff, that insight and openness, exactly kind of why you're here. So tell me, as somebody, I don't think about all these things all the time.
I think of you as very open, but you've always been very open with me.
Maybe because you bring it out.
I don't
think I'm closed off exactly, but I don't think I'm as in touch with my fears as you are sometimes.
I don't know. You're pretty open.
I wouldn't mind.
The segment where you did, where Brown said, she asked if you shit in the bed.
Right.
In your pants.
I brought that up. Yeah,
you brought it up.
Yes.
And so, that's pretty open.
Yeah. Well, for comedy's sake. See,
I know,
if there's a joke, if there's a joke behind it, I'm willing to go there.
I know.
But if there's not a joke behind it, then maybe I'll keep it to myself.
Well, I don't know. My experience with you is we've always seen each other and we talk genuinely, earnestly, honestly, openly. And so, but I also know, just like I'm sure I can do bits and like that. And I know you can do that too. But for whatever reason,
we don't have to.
We don't have to feel that.
We've
need.
done it on stage. I've seen you do it. I know you're very good.
I've seen you.
I know you're very, very good. But we don't have to do those bits. So that's interesting.
So that's kind of, I think. Oh, here's another thing that I was thinking about earlier about, trusting your instincts and doing like that. One of my first TV audition, I walked in and the casting director, there was a broken terrarium in the middle of the room. And I said, what happened? And the casting director said, if one more actor asks me about the terrarium, I'm going to lose my mind. And I was just like, I apologized profusely. I sat down. I tried to read with her, but all during the thing I was thinking, why would you bring that up?
Right.
Like, why would you do that?
No. Why would she keep a broken terrarium in her room?
I know. And so then I remember driving
Would you
home.
remove the terrarium that's broken?
One would think.
Yeah.
And so I sat around and spiraled thinking about that in bed when I wasn't thinking about Friends, and getting fired up Friends.
Sure.
And then one night I remember I was just like, why wouldn't I ask about a broken terrarium in the middle of the room? It's a broken terrarium in the middle of the room.
What's happening about it?
So
sure.
And I don't know what's in it. Like it could be there could be a lizard loose or a snake or hermit crabs. I don't know what's in a terrarium. And she made me feel like that. And I just remember thinking, no, you've got to trust your own instincts.
100%.
And don't let them make you feel like something that you say is wrong if it's honest.
What's the thing that's the hardest for you to sort of learn or to really accept?
Probably, I was in love once, 10 years, and then he passed away.
Yeah.
And I think it's been hard to figure out how to let myself fall in love again like that in that same thing.
Because it was so painful to lose him?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't.
I did not care for that. Turns out I don't care for death.
Interestingly enough, you just crossed paths with a grief counselor.
Yeah, I know. I did. I know.
In the hallway.
I know. Well, it turns out, I'm not a big fan of abandonment, and that's the ultimate abandonment.
But he didn't abandon you.
I know, but it feels like that.
I understand.
I know.
I understand. It's hard. But if you truly love somebody, you are risking an enormous amount of pain, possibility of pain.
And that's with your friends, with your family, everything. I just think that level of it for me, it was so intense.
Yep.
And then to lose it, it was hard. I've been in other relationships since then, but I think that there's always that part of me that's like
holds back.
I don't ever let that happen to you again. You can't be, because I really kind of came apart for a while.
And is that method of living where you're saying, I'm not going to give it all, working for you?
Yes, because I have lots of great friends.
Okay.
And I can keep it at a certain level.
All right.
And it's all, you asked me what I'm still, what I'm working with. And that's one of the things that I think I still work at.
Do you see a shrink?
Yeah.
I just started seeing a shrink.
Oh, thank
again.
God.
Again,
I can tell you
I
right
had
now.
been seeing a shrink for years and then I stopped, but I'm back.
Thank Christ.
Yes. No, we got to work through. We got to work through our shit. We got to work through our shit. Yeah. I was feeling oddly depressed.
Yeah.
Just like in waves, and I was like, "What is this about?"
Yeah.
And so I'm talking to somebody. They haven't figured it out yet, but we're on our way.
Well, that's the interesting part of all that is it's you kind of figure it out with their guidance, and it's such a great experience in therapy when you do figure something out. But also, I can figure out and know exactly what my problem is, but still not figure out how to move through it,
past it.
And so it's my life has just been a lot of that, kind of trying to figure out how to, because I think when I started out, I was pretty shy. And my whole reason for going to the Groundlings was I was taking acting classes with Nina Foch, and she was, she would give me something and I would say, I don't feel like a king. I don't know how to do this. And she was like, you need to go to the Groundlings, where you can learn how to just, take on whatever persona.
She's absolutely right. But shouldn't an acting teacher also teach you that? Shouldn't Nina Foch have been able to tell you, this is how you should be a king?
Yeah, but I love that she sent me there because I was, serious about acting, and all of a sudden I'm learning this thing, and it was all fun for me. It was just playful and fun, and
you're so good at it.
Well, thank you.
So good at it.
Thank you. You are too.
I'm all right. I'm
You
all
know,
right.
I think we even did it. I think we've even performed together.
We have.
What is the group with John Stark and
The Transformers?
the Transformers?
Yes,
I think I did it once.
Yeah.
And you were in it.
Sure.
It seems to me that I remember us being beetles stuck on our back
that could be.
with our legs, you know, like trying to figure it out.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I thought for a second it meant the lads from Liverpool.
Oh, no,
Those Beatles. No, okay. All right.
No, literally,
Sure,
Beatles on our
All
backs
right,
that we're trying to figure out how to get up.
That's good. I love improv. I must say that I still to this day truly love
Me too.
the freedom of it, the scariness of it,
And the playfulness of
Yes.
it. It's like, we're adults now and we get to play, and it's like, it's playful and silly.
One of the things I do still to this day, which I break up, I laugh on
I do
stage.
too.
But it's that you're not if Groundlings, if being the Groundlings, one of the things we have to do is commit to this character,
Yeah.
commit to the scene. If you're truly committed,
I know.
you're not laughing.
I know.
And so I'm out here observing. Some part of me is out here watching the scene and really enjoying it.
I know.
And
You're
that's a
absolutely
problem.
right.
Yeah.
Everything that you just said is absolutely right.
Yeah.
And we both know that.
Yeah.
And still, sometimes there's moments where I break, and I hate it when I see it with other people.
Me too.
I hate it. But
I do it all the time.
But when it happens to me, I fight to get back to it.
Yeah.
And but it happens sometimes.
does.
Somebody will say something, or you'll find yourself in a situation, and what can you do? You have to laugh.
Gonna laugh. That's all you can do. So in the Groundlings, when we're doing our improv, we're very much in the moment.
In the moment.
And that is great practice for me, to be in the moment. Like that, there's just listening to what people are saying, what the scene is, what people are doing, and participating in that moment. That's great.
Absolutely. And all those games that we learned, I use all those in my life where, like I always think, rather than if I'm in an argument, what's going to be interesting, and the best thing for that is to just sit down and talk and communicate
Right.
and like that, and get out of the yelling, all the little lessons. Expert talker, if you don't know something, act like you do.
Sure.
And just sell it.
Right.
And
Commitment.
all those games.
Yeah.
New choice.
New Choice is one of the greatest games I ever learned in my life.
Because then you just come up with something, and you see all these different things inside of you that you can.
As a writer, New Choice is one of the greatest things, one of the greatest gifts anybody ever said, which is you can do it this way, but you can also do it this way and this way and this way, and they're all good, and they all can work.
Yep.
The other great game I love is there's a game that they say was do it badly. Do the worst performance you can possibly give for X. And if you do it right,
That sounds fun.
if you do the worst you could possibly do, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
This can never be bad if you're committed to it. And so if you've committed to something, even if you're trying to be shitty, it's going to be great.
I also like when you do improv and they say, do the best acting you can do. And I really, really commit to it. But what ends up happening, because you can't help it, information will come up, something that you know nothing about, and you have to really act your way through talking about,
Right.
Sri Lanka or something. And it's like, it's so ridiculous.
Yes.
That it's, there is going to be humor, even if you're really playing it like,
Right.
very seriously.
Plus you're completely bullshitting your way through it, and that's funny. But you're being serious, and you're committed to it. It's the best thing.
Yeah.
I want everybody to take those improvisational lessons, even if people don't want to be actors or don't want to be, just to be able to be unafraid of living in a moment. That'd be great.
And I know, like in scene study classes, they really work hard at trying to teach how to be in the moment. And I just feel like I learned all that at the Groundlings.
Yeah, me too.
I know how to just kind of move my way through something and respond to somebody. And
harder though with the written material, because with the written script, you have to bend yourself to what's there. It's not like you're making a free will choice. You're playing a character, you're committing to the moment. If it's well written, great. But if you don't see yourself how to get from point A to point B, sometimes that can be tough.
you have to figure all that out
Right.
ahead of time. And then when you're in it, rather than, doing what you plan or whatever, thinking in terms of, I know that this is what's going on here with me in this scene. And then when it comes to that part, whatever is going on with your partner, kind of how to transition, because emotionally or mentally what's going on. But I also think all those things are good in life, like not worrying about, like coming in here today, I have no idea what I was going to talk about,
Even though I sent you a letter saying exactly what we were going to talk about.
No, you said that it was going to be about moment to moment.
Right, yeah.
But I didn't plan,
Yes.
like stories or anything. But I just trust that if I'm here, we will have an exchange, and that it's just like when somebody is on the telephone, you're not sitting there thinking, okay, now when he stops talking, I'm going to say this, this, and this.
Right.
And if you are thinking that, then you're not really in the conversation.
Right. I've had those conversations. I've been on the phone with somebody I don't want to talk to, and I'm thinking exactly whatever they're saying when they're done, I'm going to say this, this, and this.
But then you're not really listening to them.
And then I'm going to get off the phone.
Yeah.
Yes, no.
Right.
Then this phone call will be over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that. I do have had, I've had that.
I've had that too.
Yeah.
But like most people, they don't, if you're on a date or whatever, you're really trying to connect and you're trying to be in the moment.
Yeah.
You're not really thinking, okay, I don't care what she's saying. I'm going to say this, this, and this.
But when I'm on a date, my big worry is Brown going to find out? So I'm constantly in the back of my head, like looking at the doors and the windows.
Listen, I get it. I would not want to mess with her.
Nobody wants to mess with her.
She is very smart, and
she's
she
very
will,
smart.
She will cut you with a shiv.
She would see through that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
She's also kind of, she thinks she's kind of psychic, and she might be right. So I don't know. But now it's time for something we like to call question time.
Yeah.
It's question time.
These are questions people wrote in specifically to ask you.
Really?
Yep. And I don't know if this first question belies that, but Maynard asks, what is the one food you could eat from now until the end of your life without regrets?
Oh, Maynard. Let me think. It would be, I enjoy pizza.
Monica asks, he's been a supporting actor in many great shows. Is there any role he wished he could have played, either in a movie or a series, but didn't get to play?
I can tell Monica that every time I see a movie or a TV show, there's always a role in there that I think, oh, I would have loved to have played that.
This next person asks, how do you prepare to do improv? What must you know before stepping on the stage?
Well, I make sure I shower.
Good.
Good. So that
not everybody does.
And I make sure I shower and then I'm clean, because sometimes you're all of a sudden intimate with somebody and you're not expecting to, but there you are rolling around on the ground.
Right.
So I always
I've kissed a lot of people.
Yeah.
Men and women.
Yeah.
In improv.
That's right.
That I did not expect to be kissing.
You weren't prepared for
that's right.
it. So that's really the only thing I do to prepare.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, I do.
But a lifetime of preparation in terms of learning the skills involved.
I learned the skills in classes and stuff. And then, this is something I did. So I did all, the Groundlings like in 85 or whatever. And then I was in the company from 90 to 95. And then all those years went by. And right before the pandemic, I was working on a show called Teachers, and Ian Roberts was the showrunner, brilliant man, one of the original people from UCB.
UCB, right?
And, a lot of the women that wrote on the show and starred in it were from UCB. Mm-hmm. So I read the book and I took all 4 of their levels, and so that I could hear their language and get to know, and so that I can improvise with that group of improvisers.
That's all game stuff, right?
It's game stuff. And so I did all that for just, to prepare so that I can be a better improviser.
It help?
Yeah.
All right.
It helped, and it also, and it really came about because Ian would say to us, we've got to find the game in this scene. And in my mind, I was like, what do you mean find the game?
Right.
And so I, read the book, and then I would go see it with the girls and stuff. And then I just ended up taken the classes, and I hadn't taken an improv class since the mid 80s, so it was really fun.
That is fun. So now, what do they mean by find the game in the scene? Like, I think I know what they mean, which is because everything with UCB is about a game. It's a challenge to hit.
Yeah, it's like listening for any kind of mistake or any kind of oddity or something that comes up, and then finding a pattern with that, and a lot of times the games that we play are built into the structure of they're just one-off scenes, so the game is kind of built into the scene, and so with that, it's more cerebrally looking for how I can find a game within the scene.
So now this is time for listener mail, which is a question that's not specifically for you.
Okay.
Now it's time for listener mail.
This was a question that was meant for me and my guest.
Okay.
So, dear Jay and guest, do you believe there's more to this world than we can see? Aliens, ghosts, angels, or is this a function of the mind trying to explain things that we just simply don't understand?
Do you want to attack this? Or is this for me?
It's for both of us.
Okay.
But I mean, I think that the mind we are limited in our perspective. We can't see, like bugs can see more colors than we can. Dogs can hear more sounds than we can. There are more things out there than we can perceive. So there definitely is more to this world than that we know.
I actually find comfort in knowing that there are things that I don't know out there. So I find comfort in believing that there are angels or ghosts or aliens or whatever.
I wish I was more of a believer in that kind of thing, because I think I would find great comfort in it and great beauty in it.
Yeah.
And I'm not a believer in that kind of thing.
Yeah, I understand.
And I wish people who have true faith, religious faith, I feel have this wonderful leg up in terms of what the future holds and how there's a plan, and that there can't be anything horrible that's a mistake, because overall it's all being taken care of by a higher power. That's what a great thing to walk through and believe.
But I also think that I do hang on to that little quiet little part of me that still likes to believe in things.
Right.
Even though I listen to Bill Maher and I know exactly, I recognize what he's saying as being truth and all that, but
Don't listen to Bill Maher too closely.
I know.
Yeah, he's problematic.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun. It's one of those things where I see Bill Maher, he has a podcast now. I see Bill Maher like leaning back in his chair, smoking a joint and pontificating. I was like, I don't feel like he's listening. I feel like he showed up with a real set of facts that he believes in. It's like, you don't know everything. You don't know everything. Nobody knows everything.
Nobody knows everything.
Yeah. I mean, I do, but other people than me don't know everything.
But I wonder if Brown and Charlie would agree with you.
I'm pretty sure they would not agree with me. I'm pretty sure. Are you participating in the 50th anniversary thing of the Groundlings?
I did. That's why I did a couple of their shows.
Right.
I don't think I'm doing any more coming up, but I did, a 50th guest show.
Oh, that's great.
And then I did something else. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh no, that was a separate thing. That was a fundraiser for somebody.
They do not recognize my participation at the Groundlings.
They don't.
No, I'm not.
They never call you.
I was never in the company. I was only in the Sunday show.
Well, you were in the Sunday company.
That doesn't count.
It doesn't?
Does not count.
That's some bullshit.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's all right. It's all right.
That is some bullshit.
I give the Groundlings a lot of credit for all my success, and they give me
nothing. Well,
that's all right. But
it is really the gift that keeps on taking.
Right. I'm still paying dues. Even now.
I constantly am. Yeah, I know. It is what it is, but it is the gift that keeps on taking.
Who is the greatest improv performer at the Groundlings you ever saw?
Oh wow. There are so many. It's hard to just pick one, but I will say that especially when I was kind of coming up there, watching George McGrath do song improv blew me away. It was just like he could do anything.
Right.
with effortlessly. He just, could hang on to stuff. What happens to me when I do song improv is my mind goes completely
Right.
blank, and if a word comes into my mind, I can't hold on to it to set up a rhyme.
Right.
So I say that word, and then I have to scuffle about
Right.
trying to find another word. So
Yes, the trick is to know two words that sound alike that you're going to go for. That's all.
That's
what it is.
It's really hard.
I was really good at song improv.
I know you
really
were.
good at song improv, and nobody gives.
I know you
that
were.
was very
I've
strange.
seen
I was
you
really
do
good at it.
song
And-
improv.
but
We
could
might
both
have
be
even
good.
taken a class with Phyllis Katz together.
Could be. She's such a good teacher. Yes, but I love song improv, and I loved the trick of it. Watching the Groundlings when I was a kid, I used to go. They don't let kids in anymore, but when I was 14 or 15, I would see the Groundlings and think that's like a magic trick. Like how do they do that?
How did they do it?
And then years later, learned how they did it, and it's still amazing. But it was still super fun, but it was less of a magic trick. Like, I know how.
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite person that you've seen there?
Man, I mean, I remember Phil Hartman being amazing.
He was amazing.
I remember John Paragon being
John Paragon was
unbelievably
amazing.
I mean, Phyllis was amazing.
I could watch Lynn Stewart
Lynn
improvise
Stewart all day long.
Mindy Sterling. There's so many.
I mean, there's so many great improvisers and people who just are fast on their feet and just can do it. Those are the names of people who I saw when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I thought, I could never be like that. And then I got to perform with
Yeah,
them.
and you were.
Yeah,
that.
I got lucky.
I remember seeing Will Ferrell, and he was just so much fun to watch him improvise, and then right around when he came in is right when I left.
Yeah.
And then also there are certain people, I'm sure you feel this way too, where you know them so well that it's really fun to improvise with them. And somebody that's like that for me is Lisa Kudrow.
Who hates improvising now.
I know, but she's really
so good.
During the pandemic, we did one together where it was, on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And I could tell that she was not pleased with what she was doing, but even when she's like not pleased with it, she's always brilliant.
Yeah.
She's smart and funny, and I don't know. I've got, friends I love to improvise with, Mike Hitchcock,
So funny.
Mike McDonald, Mindy Sterling, so many people, but it's just easy. But do you have people like that?
Yeah, I mean, all those people
Mm-hmm.
I would love to perform with, and I've been performing with the Transformers for many, many years. And Jim Wise is somebody who I could always just I sit at a table and improvise with him.
Yeah.
And, and all the, there's so many really talented, funny people out there that are great. And, also become good humans. So that beyond their talent is I like to sit and talk with them and they're friends.
Yeah.
So that's great. So, that's one of the things when you join a club. When you join a club, you don't love everybody, but you certainly love you find a lot of people who have a similar interest, and you can learn to love a lot of them.
Well, we're lucky to be a part of that. I feel very grateful for that, because I was kind of floating around town for a good decade until I found, the classes at the Groundlings.
Right.
And I just feel connected, having.
Yeah, they hate you.
I know.
They've talked about
know.
disliking you intensely. And I
know.
feel bad being the one to tell you, but it's all right.
And yet they constantly ask for money.
Well, hating you and asking for money are not
exactly.
disconnected. You can happen at the same time.
I know, and they do.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Well, Tim, thank you for being here.
I'm thrilled to be here.
This was the greatest time. I wanted you to be on the show for many, many months, and now you're here, and I was not disappointed.
I'm so glad. Well, we went some places.
Yeah, we did, and we'll do it again at another point in time. But I am thrilled and grateful that you're here. I want you to enjoy your frosted mini wheats.
I will.
And they're frosted mini wheats. They're half the size,
but all the flavor
of the regular mini wheats.
Yes.
And I want to thank you for being here, and I want to thank you, the audience of Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan, for being here. Please write into Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan. That's DBAWJK@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, if you love the show, if you love Tim Bagley, if you love me, please write in. And if you hate me, you can do that too. I'll answer the letter either way. But have a great day, and don't be alone. Share some time with somebody you care about. Bye-bye.
Don't be